everyone. So, okay, thankfully I have a nice quiet day today. Um, so I'm getting as many videos knocked out as I possibly can. I apologize in advance for the audio in this. I'm literally having to use this, this little smartphone for the audio and the video and everything. So just all I can suggest, and I'm not going to be able to edit this video at all in any way, shape, or form. It is going out just as is. So all I can suggest is turn up your volume to like 100%. And I hope to God that you can hear me well enough. I'm talking as loud as I can at the moment. Hopefully that will be enough. And I don't know what else to say other than that. So yeah. So thankfully I wrote down some quick notes here, and I will try to look at the camera rather than at myself. I know that really does, it throws off the visual so bad when I don't look at the actual tiny little dot that is the camera. So I will try my best to look at the camera. Today is Sunday, February 5th, 2023, when I'm recording this and recording several other videos. And I might as well just get into it. So I'm going to be talking about predictions here. So when it comes to predictions, first off, I want to, this whole video is an umbrella term and an umbrella thing that you have to take anyone's predictions under. All right, anyone and everyone's predictions under. And this is just true for humanity itself. Being high functioning autistic, I've had to study how to socialize. I've had to study people. I've had to study body language because it did not come naturally to me. And I have spent an entire lifetime of studying those things. And I've become very, very educated in it. I've become very good at sociology and whatnot. And I've tried to, social psychology and all this. I'm not even going to get into it. Because I go to one area and I just, all the details are connected together, and it's really hard for me to keep on topic. So I'm going to stay to my notes here. So one of the big problems, one of the big things with humanity itself is that while evolution may be true and it may exist, it happens over millions of years. And so human DNA has not changed. We haven't made any massive leaps or changes in human DNA. And even if we were to take what is existent nowadays, CRISPR, and make even legacy changes, they call it legacy changes, legacy meaning that whatever changes are made to you DNA-wise will be passed down to any kids and grandkids that you have. That is what a legacy change is. Even if they institute legacy changes through CRISPR, which is a DNA editing program that they can do to humans now, even if they were to do that, and already I'm getting too technical in this video, please forgive me. This is probably going to go into maybe even a 5-parter, who knows, but I can't help it. All the details are connected together, and I'm being as succinct and as quick and as to the point as I possibly can. So even if we start editing our DNA, because those who are editing the DNA have the original DNA, our DNA will not change that much. And therefore, our thinking will not change that much, and our actions will not change that much. And because we have no outside DNA to draw from, in other words, we don't have any other higher intelligent life in existence that we know of to extract that DNA from and put it into our DNA. Since we have nothing like that, we are literally just like a little mud pond messing with ourselves and each other. And with CRISPR, we'll be creating little anthills in the mud pond, but it'll still be made out of mud, and it'll still just be a little mud puddle. So because of that, it causes stuff like, you can look back 3,000 years ago and human beings haven't changed. We haven't changed in the line of our thinking, our beliefs, our political structures, how we see the difference in sexes and races and genders and societies. Nothing's changed at all. That's why it makes astrology so relevant for today, and why it makes all of the Greek, Greek plays, which were even around before the Romans conquered them, why it makes them so incredibly relevant for today, why it makes all of the Greek and Roman gods relevant for today. It's because human beings haven't changed. Human beings haven't changed at all. And that is fundamentally why astrology still works today. And that is fundamentally why, you know, you can predict something and it is true and it is correct. It's because it's still, our DNA hasn't changed. Our DNA hasn't changed. And within that DNA, if anyone has, and I actually got this from some PBS specials, it was Nova Science Now or something like that. I can't remember what, but one of those, intellectual programs that I like to watch. My family loved. My sister is addicted to it. She's really into it. She was in the NASA and high-end mathematics and all that crap. My dad did calculus in his head, so it really sucks having to fight abusive, intelligent people like that. But that's a whole nother tangent. So DNA is fractals. DNA is fractals. Understand this. There was a show that did a thing about how you can see the leaves of a tree will actually, the leaf on a tree, the way it is made, an oak tree versus a maple tree, a river birch versus a pine tree. The way their very needles are laid out will be the exact same way the tree itself is laid out. And that will be the exact same way that that specific type of tree will actually branch out into the world to spread its seed. You can actually see these different trees fighting amongst each other to branch out in the exact same pattern that their leaves are. And fractals, and that is DNA. That is DNA, the DNA of the tree, but the DNA is fractals. Now, I am an Asperger's and my brain is super computery like that, and I managed to put two and two things together, but there you go. And this is why astrology still works and everything. You got to put these things together. So what ends up happening is that fractals exist. They are real, and they are real in the micro scale, microscopic scale, and the macro, the large scale. So fractals go both directions. They go so above, so below, so microscopically, so sociologically, and the entire world, and that's just within the line of trees and the way they try to branch out and try to, you could say, even conquer each other. Don't grow here, I'm growing here. Don't grow where I'm trying, and you'll see the tree trying to branch out and trying to conquer and take over in the exact same pattern that their leaves are, so there you go. Because the whole structure of the tree it tries to branch out in relatively the same structure that their leaves are. So, and it is like that with everything. Now, trees are like that. Trees are a very simplistic way, how you start experimenting in lab rats before you move to monkeys. Trees are an exceedingly simplistic way of describing anything else in the world. That includes bugs. That includes, bacteria, amoeba, insects. That includes anything at all. Plant life. That includes human beings. That includes animals, and that includes human beings. Now, since DNA has not changed, and since fractals are what is causing DNA to, you could say, fight for itself, I want my DNA to live, I want my DNA to grow. That is what is causing, and these are permanent problems in society. The Bible says, do not build your house on sand, build your house on stone. If you build your house on sand, it will be washed away. If you build your house on stone, you'll stick around forever. Now, I'm going to give you the bedrock stonework in which the entire world works. So take everything that you ever hear politically, spiritually, sociologically, everything. Doesn't matter how true it is, doesn't matter how much it is telling the truth. Take it within these contexts. All right. So DNA trying to branch out in accordance with its DNA structure is going to automatically fight against certain things. So this is something that I had to learn. I'm sorry, but being a white person, I was completely deluded. When Trump got into office, I had to relook at everything. I seriously thought that we were moving forward. I thought, great, Obama's in. We're finally getting somewhere. I actually started to fight. And then Trump got into office, and I realized that there was a lot more going on. And it forced me to research, and it forced me to look into absolutely everything and everyone. And this information, don't take it the wrong way. Don't take it the wrong way. I'm not against any of these people. I'm actually for them, and I routinely fight for them. But understand that you are fighting an ocean. It doesn't matter if you even have an entire party like the ACLU, the Southern Poverty Law Center, even if you are like, say, a nice big luxury, cruise, you're a massive luxury cruise ship, you're still one cruise ship fighting millions, just an entire ocean of other cruise ships that are from other countries, other governments, other, even states, counties within your country, even within your little township. So you are one person or even one group, even if the group is rather large, fighting an entire ocean. So that is very important to know. So something that you can build your house on and that will always be permanent and that you can predict anything on in accordance with is that people will always be prejudiced. They will always, always, always be prejudiced. Prejudice, the Black people said prejudice never goes away. I thought they were wrong. They were right. They said prejudice never, never, never goes away. Even if it changes forms and words, it is always permanent. That is true. That is true. They were right. I was so wrong. They were dead right. So the entire world will always be against these people, is what it is. These people, human beings. They will always be against women. They will always be against lesbians, gays, bis, transgenders, asexuals, questioning, and queer, and whatever else is put onto that list. They will always be against Black people, just fundamentally from their core. They will always be against these people. Now you get into the more created out of society, sociological, created out of literally sociological society items. They will always be against foreigners. Now, foreigners, it's one thing being against someone who's a different racial background or who is a different sex than you, or who is a different sexual orientation than you. It's a little bit different being against someone who is, a foreigner. Like, they might have the same skin color, but they have, they speak Spanish rather than English, or they speak English rather than Spanish. That is more of a sociological standpoint, sociological drawing a line in the sand. But people will always be against foreigners. People will always be against the homeless. That the homeless prove that whatever is going on in society is not working. Whatever is going on in that society, that political, that financial structure, that makeup, it isn't working. Democracy and communism and socialism like to say that there's no such thing as homelessness. Well, it's rampant in all of these political structures. So homelessness, people will always be against homeless people. People will always be against the poor, which is another thing that shows the fallacy of all these political structures. People will always be against those who are labeled criminals. Even if, the person who is labeled a criminal is merely a different religion. They're labeled a criminal, they're labeled a terrorist simply because they're a Muslim or because they're a Christian. Over in this country, in America, Muslims are automatically labeled terrorists. Over in the Muslim countries, Christians are automatically labeled terrorists. Over in North Korea, Christians are automatically labeled, dangerous to society, terrorists, essentially, and they're killed for it. They're killed for having a Bible. You know, what was it? The fat chubby son, King John ill or whatever, because he's so ill. I don't know. He he had his girlfriend killed. The North Korean leader, dictator. He had his girlfriend killed because she was found with a Bible, they said. And she kept on protesting, saying, I'm not a Christian. I've never had a Bible in my life. They used that as an excuse to kill her. So literally, people will always be against those who are labeled criminals. Whether you agree with that labeling or not, people will always be against those who are labeled criminals. There are lots of people nowadays who are being labeled criminals who are fighting for Black Lives Matter, who are fighting police brutality, who are fighting for, just to have jobs. People, pretty much the world over, people will always be against workers' rights, which is very interesting to me. I don't know how or why, but across the board, across every country, people have pretty much been against workers and workers' rights and workers in protesting for their rights, especially when it comes to the government. So that's quite interesting to me. People will always be against other religions. This kind of blends right into that. People will always be against other religions. And people will always be against other political parties. So, the Democrats will always be against the Republicans. The Republicans will always be against the Democrats. So these are prejudices that you can build your house on. And any and all predictions that I make or that anyone else makes need to be put under this heading, under this umbrella understanding. Also, people will always be prejudiced against the physically ill, the physically handicapped, and the mentally ill and the mentally handicapped. It doesn't matter. They will always be prejudiced against them, and they will always, governments, whether it's local governments or national governments, they will always pass laws against these people. Literally, they will pass laws against the handicapped. They will pass laws against the physically ill. They will pass laws against the mentally ill. They will pass laws against the homeless. There's tons of homeless laws that have already gone into effect in the U.S. So, there's, and these are groups who I would hope nowadays the majority of society is, at least at the moment, being more for. They're not seeing the homeless as criminals. They're not seeing the homeless as druggies. And that's another one right there. Across the world, no matter what country you're living in, people are automatically prejudiced against those who do drugs and those who overindulge in, whatever it may be. But across the board, it's drugs. And I just want to say, it should not be like this. It should not be like this. This is horrific. And if you do choose to fight against everybody's prejudice and everybody's prejudices, and yeah, I can't say that word correctly, but if you decide to fight against everybody's prejudices, just know that you are fighting an ocean of people and governments. You are fighting an ocean. You are fighting the entire world. And more power to you for that. More power to all of you for fighting the world. I give all power to you for everyone who is fighting for the rights of homeless, who is fighting for the rights of the physically ill, the mentally ill, the physically handicapped, the mentally handicapped, for those who are fighting for the rights, for workers' rights, for those who are fighting for the rights of people who just want to use drugs and get high, for those who are fighting for the rights of, for women, who are fighting for the rights of women, who are fighting for the rights of people in different political parties. Yeah, people who are fighting for the rights of different religions, people who are fighting for the rights of foreigners, people who are fighting for the rights of lesbians, gays, bis, transgenders, asexual, questioning, and queer, and all other types, people who are fighting for the rights of transgenders, people who are fighting for the rights of Black people, people who are fighting for the rights of foreigners, More power to all of you, more power to every last one of you. And I can promise you that it will very soon here, a brand new entity will pop up. I give all power to those of you who are fighting for the rights, who are fighting against technology and saying, I want to bow out of technology. I want to bow out of the system itself. I want to homeschool my kids. I want to, more power to all of you who are wanting to live a more simple agrarian society life, live more Amish like, rather than have the neural link and be, permanently connected to the internet, because that will become a fight here very, very soon. That is right now, I got that download. That is prophetic. That is the future. And this video will be just as relevant in the future as it is now. In 2023, Sunday, February 5th, 2023. So since this is at the 20-minute mark, I am going to go ahead and cut it off. I hope that you all heard me. That was a very fast run through. Whatever predictions you hear, no matter who is predicting it, whatever predictions you hear, remember this video and what I said. And remember to put it into this context. This is the context you have to put it into. Everyone seems to forget it. All right. So if things start to go bad, end up realizing that if it's already bad for someone who's homeless, it's going to be a million times worse for them. If it's already bad, these are the people. This is my list. These are the people who it is already bad for. Life is already bad enough for these people. So it is going to be even worse for them. And if the government, it doesn't matter how they're going to they've already changed foreigners into the term domestic terrorism. It just, it's like, wow, they're going to be using all kinds of it doesn't matter what words they use or what terms they use. They will use different words and different terms to be able to attack the exact same people. They will call, just like they did back in the 50s and 60s and everything. They will call lesbians, gays, bis, transgenders, asexual, questioning, and queer. They will call them perverts. They will call them sexual deviants. They will call them stalkers. They will call them, sexual terrorists even. That's a term that they will pop up with. They will call them, oh man, what is that? Predator. They'll call them predators. They're already calling them groomers. These people are not those words, but instead of using the word gay, they'll use the term, sexual predator. Instead of using the word transgender, they'll use the word, sexual deviant. They will use different words and terms to describe the exact same people. And the proof is in the pudding, meaning look for the people, the actual physical people who they put in jail. That is how you can tell that nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Are Black people still predominantly the ones being put in jail? Are foreigners still predominantly being the ones put in jail? Are Muslims still predominantly the ones being put in jail? Are lesbians, gays, bis, transgenders, asexuals, questioning, queers predominantly the ones being put in jail? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And the fact that that doesn't change, they will change the terms, they'll change the words, they'll change the labels, they'll even change the meaning. But the exact same people will be getting put in jail. The exact same people will be getting punished. And that's what I mean by the proof is in the pudding. So I did the best I could for this video, trying to look into my camera and not look at me. So I hope it worked out. I'm now at the 24-minute mark, so I am cutting this off. So there we go. I did this as succinctly and as rapid fire as I possibly could. Any predictions I make, any predictions anyone makes, remember that it's bad enough for these people and that it's going to get a million times worse. And if it gets good for anyone at all, it's going to get if it gets good at all for these people, more often than not, it doesn't get better. It just doesn't get worse. That's the most I've seen for these people is life plateauing, not getting better. I've never seen it get better. I've only seen it plateau. That's the only thing that has ever happened. So, and if these people are helped, first and foremost, you will have it'll be like turning on a fire hydrant of money towards the top, literally. But no one in power is willing to admit that. They would rather have scapegoats to cover up their dirty dealings than, you know. And everyone that I mentioned here isn't a scapegoat. Every last person, entity, group, what have you, they're an scapegoat, you know. So I could go on and on and on and on and on. Now I am cutting off. I am going to make another video here, so definitely watch that one. It can be watched independently, but it definitely will couple with this one. So bye for now. I'm cutting it off. Bye for now.